Your health and your wealth are more connected than you think. Hi, I'm David Hole, Money Coach. I help people build clarity and confidence around their finances. Today I'm teaming up with Layla Gordon, a nutritionist who specialises in helping people take control of their health and feel their best. By bringing our worlds together, financial well-being and physical well-being, we're showing how powerful it is when both areas work in sync. And I know that personally because one simple test that Layla recommended to me didn't just give me answers, it changed my life. So watch this video, and if you like it, please subscribe. It really does make a difference. Hi Layla, nice to see you. It's been a while actually since we've caught up, so it's been good to sort of have a chat before we've started recording. For what is my Beyond Money YouTube series. And the idea there is we're just having conversations with lots of interesting people who've got a story to tell around things that are relatable to my clients, but not necessarily the sort of things that they would expect me to be talking about. So obviously everyone expects me to talk about investments and ISAs and the stock market and all those sort of things. But actually, when you start to talk to people, there's lots of other things that sort of come into the fray. And I've had lots of interesting guests on, and we've been trying to arrange this for a while. So you're the next one in line as far as that's concerned. So thank you for giving me some of your valuable time, because I know how busy you are and increasingly becoming. But do you want to perhaps just start with just giving a bit of an intro to where you are currently in your sort of journey along helping people with their health?
Yeah, great. Well, thanks again for having me on. And I think, we've worked together in various capacities, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we realised when we did our retreat that actually you can't separate money from health or health from money. The two are very much intertwined. And I think that's what we're going to be talking a bit more about today. In terms of my journey, so I'm Layla Gordon. I'm a registered nutritional practitioner, and I have a very busy clinic in Lower Parkstone where I see people on a one-to-one basis. But I also work for a company called L-Nutra because I was looking for some solutions for people to really help them to tap deeper into their metabolic health, to help them to lose weight, to shift visceral fat, to improve their blood glucose, reduce their LDL, and essentially extend their lifespan. So that's where I'm really at the cutting edge at the moment with the work that I'm doing. It's everything that I have been doing in my clinic to date, and now I feel like I've always just got this cherry on top where I'm actually working with one of the leading global companies in the world who've done much research. They have over 40 clinical trials and $38 million of research into what they call the fasting mimicking diet. So this is where I'm really able to help people, men and women, who are maybe struggling with their health from a weight perspective. Maybe they are having some metabolic health issues, so maybe they've just been diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes. Maybe their cholesterol started to rise. They've put on a bit of weight around the middle. They're just not feeling right. Obviously, I have all my amazing nutritional strategies that I've put in place with you, and now I have this other toolkit that can dig deeper.
And we're going to come on and talk about that shortly, but going to take you back a couple of things. So just could you give an explanation of metabolic health?
Yeah, so metabolic health is a general term that actually not a lot of people understand what that is, and it's not really a buzzword. We actually did a bit of a questionnaire at L-Nutra the other day about what people were most interested in when it comes to using our products. Weight loss was at the top, metabolic health was at the bottom. So I think it needs a bit of a rebrand, to be honest, that word. It's not quite hitting where it needs to hit. But it's an umbrella term, and if you have metabolic disease or metabolic syndrome, we call it in our practice, would be a collection of things such as a high BMI, a high LDL, a low HDL, which is the good cholesterol, high triglycerides, which is another form of fat, raised blood glucose, and high blood pressure. So if you have a number of these symptoms, you'd be classed as having what we call metabolic disease. And I think quite a few people, unfortunately, are probably walking around with a few of those that maybe don't even realise they have it.
So people that are looking to have achieve weight loss, there is my brain instantly goes to, my God, there's a lot of people who want to lose weight who wouldn't have any idea what you're talking about, wouldn't even think about doing that. They're just going to think that by going to the gym or going for a run or a walk once or twice a week, and maybe swapping a few Mars bars for a few salads and a bit of fruit is going to achieve what they want to achieve. So that's where I think, would I be right in saying then it's about using science to address those problems rather than just the normal traditional things that people would go to, where they think that gym and avoiding chips maybe once a week is going to answer their problems?
Yeah, exactly. So I think I joke and I say a lot of the time people come for the weight loss and they stay, or they realise what the other effects are, because there's a lot of magic that happens when you do address your weight loss. You're addressing a lot of your metabolic imbalances as well, and these are really crucial for our ongoing health, for our lifespan and our health span. You know, insulin resistance is probably at the core of many health problems. And so yes, it'd be really great if people did understand a bit more about what they're doing to their bodies when they are maybe thinking about skipping breakfast or going for a workout or doing all those normal things we know we need to do for our metabolism. Why that's so important. So thinking about breakfast, for example, and how you start the day. There are so many things you can do at the start of the day to really, you know, trick or spark your metabolism. You know, things like starting the day with having a big pint of water, starting your day with high protein rather than high carbs, doing some light form of exercise in the morning, getting some morning sunlight into your eyes, maybe doing some sort of affirmation that you say to yourself every morning, a little bit of meditation, even if it's just a few minutes. All of these things can actually have a profound effect on how your metabolism works throughout the rest of the day, and that then leads to a longer, healthier life in the long term.
Okay, so again, things that I wouldn't necessarily have linked, and certainly I think clients and viewers wouldn't necessarily have linked those things together. I get it, because I try to do a lot of those things, but I think a lot of people don't. So I think probably be beneficial to sort of talk through my professional or our sort of professional sort of relationship in terms of when I came to you as a client, because I met you in various different guises, and then you sort of said to me, right, well, okay, it would be a good idea for you to come in. So we had a consultation. This is my recollection. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we identified a few things that I could improve upon in order to sort of try and control my weight. And you, how can I say this? Encouraged me.
I was quite persistent about that because I knew
to do a blood test, a deep dive blood test, and it took me a while to get to that place, but then I did it, and for me that's been life changing. And as you say, because you know, and there's a lot of conviction when you talk to someone. I find this in what I do. I know I can help people, and sometimes you don't want to appear to be too pushy or a salesman about it.
No.
But it's like, come on, you really are going to help yourself if you do this. In my case, do a financial health check to see where their finances are, because I know they can make improvements. So you were, I didn't want to use the word nag or bully me, but you were very encouraging. Because you knew. And so we did this. What I explained to my sort of friends and family, a deep dive blood test, but I'm sure there's a better way of...
Yeah, I can explain it to you. Yeah, of course.
So
I remember our phone conversation. I remember because I'm very passionate about people doing certain things that I really think they should or need to do. But there's also certain things that I think everyone should do regardless. Everyone should potentially wear a glucose monitor. Every woman over 40 should potentially do a comprehensive hormone panel. And certainly the cardiometabolic profile, which is the test that you did. I mean, if anyone has access to that and they're of a certain age, 30 or 40 over, if they can do that, great. Certainly if they have any health concerns that may mean they should need to do that. And I think that's where with you, some of the things that you were saying to me about your previous health history, your goals, I thought, you know, we need some data here and we need to deep dive. And the cardiometabolic profile is an advanced lipid panel. So the blood is centrifuged here in the UK and it's shipped off to the US. And the reason for that is it does specific markers that are very hard to have done easily in the UK. So it's advanced. It's
I'd forgotten that.
Yes.
That it wasn't necessarily just something that you wouldn't get done at your GP surgery.
No.
It's perhaps why it's not done at the GP surgery is because it's not a testing that's common in the UK.
We're not there yet. There are certain markers that test includes for a very good price as well, that we just don't normally have in the UK. So there are certain markers such as Lp(a), which is a genetic form of high cholesterol, bad cholesterol, LDL, that is not common in the UK to have done. There's also insulin, which is not common, unfortunately, to have done. So glucose is common, but actually testing your insulin is not common. And there are, well, we can go into the nerdiness, but subspecies of cholesterol as well. So we can really see what types of LDL you have. We can look in more detail at the inflammation. We're looking at your cardio-metabolic. So the cardio side and deep dive into your LDL profile, but the metabolic side as well, insulin being one of them, but also that marker that we've spoken about just before, which is leptin, which is the hunger signal, which in some people can switch off or can become what we call leptin resistant in certain people. And just, you know, from this one page, it's just one page with about 30 markers, it can be very life-changing.
I think that's quite crucial, the one-page aspect, because when we went through the results, so just go back a step. So I had the test, and the one-page thing is critical because when we went through the results, we did it online. And so we were scrolling down a page. So although it's one page, I only had visibility of the top half of the page. And it's a traffic light system. And I'm not telling you because you know, but for the purposes of anyone watching this video. So it's green, amber, red. And all of mine were in the green. Okay, every single one of them. And then we scrolled down the page and it was quite near the bottom and it was like one that was in the red. And that was the only one. So it was like, wow, what's that? And that was my leptin.
And you were leptin resistant. And when I explained that to you, you actually felt quite emotional about that.
I'm feeling it now, if I'm honest. Even though that was probably a year ago.
Because you initially came to me just to have a sort of light touch conversation. Obviously we met through networking and obviously with what I do in nutrition, you said, I think I want to talk to you. You know, I'm very strict with my diet, but maybe you can have a little look in and see if maybe there are some areas that I can, you know, improve upon. Maybe there's somewhere that I'm going wrong. And so we had that initial consultation. And I was able to sort of pick out that maybe some of the snacks that you were having, so the naked bars, were higher in sugar than maybe they were being marketed to you as. So it wasn't very obvious to you that maybe there were some hidden sugars in there. And you had been maybe giving yourself a bit of a hard time for quite a few years about your diet and about your eating and about, you know, your weight balance and things like that. Thinking, well, I'm doing everything right. Why am I not getting the goal, the achievements that I want?
There was something missing.
There was something that wasn't quite adding up. So over many years, this is the sort of thing that can happen. So insulin resistance, leptin resistance, obviously we know about, you know, people's blood pressure, for example, and things like that. These are all silent changes to your metabolism that are occurring without you even knowing it or feeling it. And this is what the test showed, was that you had a very high level of leptin resistance. And that possibly been from many years of maybe snacking on sugary items that you didn't know had that much sugar in them. In the end, your I'm full signal had just switched off. So you were constantly feeling hungry, even when psychologically you didn't probably really want to eat, but the hormones were making you want to. So
and
then
that was a very real thing that I'd had for a long time, of even though I knew I was full, I still would carry on eating. And anyone out there who has a similar thing, you know, you need to check. That's why doing these tests and these checks were so important. And for me, it's been life-changing because now I know that I don't have, effectively, I do not have the signal which the majority of people have that goes from the stomach to the brain to say you're full, therefore stop eating.
It become resistant, so the cells, the receptors had switched off. They'd said, okay, we've been doing this signal enough now. We're not going to do it anymore. We're going to switch it off, which is the same as what happens with insulin, which is what can lead to high blood sugar, which is also very dangerous. So the body can become resistant to certain hormones and neurotransmitters after time, but that can be reversed. You know, a lot of this can be put into remission. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand as well.
Yeah.
Maybe they think, well, I've got this now, that's it, I'm just going to have to take the medication or put up with the side effects. But actually, you know, the body's very clever. If you give it the right tools, the right environment, it can reset itself.
Yeah. But I think that's the key for this really, is that had I gone to my GP, they would not have been able to do this test. So they wouldn't even have tested for it. I would have carried on the rest of my life without knowing anything about this whatsoever.
Yeah. There are some key markers that really, unfortunately, are missing when it comes to the standard blood tests.
Yeah.
And that's through no one particular's fault. It just takes time for these things to come through, for the research.
Yeah, I mean,
for the...
I don't, in any way, I'm not, I'm sure you would agree with this, we're not slating the NHS. No. It is what it is. This is the real world. They're not being tested for, therefore these tests are available. So actually we should be rejoicing in that it's possible now through science to look at what you as an individual, because I don't know, I mean, did you suspect that was what I had beforehand, or did you?
Not that leptin, no, that wasn't what I had. Sometimes I do have a bit of a foresight, and it, you know, because I do all sorts of tests, you know, I do digestive, you know, samples, stool samples, and all the hormones, and you know, I can kind of gather sometimes what's going to happen, but you never really know.
No.
But I knew you'd be a very good candidate for this test, because again, I think you were someone that wanted some answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a test like that is black and white data, and it's advanced black and white data as well.
Yes.
So there's always something. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. Yeah. And something like that, an advanced cardiometabolic profile, helps you to find that needle in the haystack.
Yeah. But I think the real point there is that the NHS aren't even looking for that. And I say that's nothing derogatory about the NHS at all, because it's a wonderful service that we all benefit from. But if you want to, and this, I suppose, a lot of what this is about is people who want to take control of, and from my point of view, can take control of their finances and make them better, and from your point of view, take control of your health. Yeah. And the way to do that is to find, okay, we need to look at you as an individual, because I can't go to everyone and say, right, well, you need to save X amount per month and then you're going to be able to retire, because everyone's goals are different and everyone's ability to save is different, and the same with this. Yeah. So it's actually, let's find out what's going on with you as an individual, because we are all different. Yeah.
I heard something interesting the other day. So Davina McCall, who I'm a huge fan of, I love what she's about, and I love her transformation and everything she stands for. Someone was saying that she asks her friends and family for instead of gifts, so instead of don't buy me another candle or you know, a scarf or whatever, contribute to my health fund. So she gets, if it's 20 quid, 30, whatever a friend or family wants to donate, they will put it into her health fund, and then she will then spend that on a test or an appointment or fast track or something like that to help her keep on top of her health, which I think is a really great combination of using health and finance together and actually using it in a more practical way, because these are tests that you have to pay for. So you have to go to someone like me and have it done privately, and I think that's the issue. So if we think about the NHS, they're doing a fantastic job, and if someone has symptoms, you can obviously go to your GP with your symptoms, and they're very quick and very efficient at running their blood tests. Sometimes they can come back that day and tell you whether there is something wrong, and they're obviously looking for, you know, acute illnesses, for example. Now, I'm more at that sort of preventative functional medicine side of life, which is taking on the future of medicine, and it's very much coming from America and the American doctors. And in America, if you think about it, they have to pay for their health, and so they're used to paying for it. So for them, it's not really an issue. They have to, you know, fit the bill. So they've already got the mindset that this is something you pay for. So maybe they're doing more of it. They're more at the forefront. They've got more markers. They're more advanced. But what I do like is that this is filtering, and people like me are helping to sort of filter it and bring it into the UK, where we can help as many people as possible.
I mean, let's be very clear about it. I can't remember exactly, but I know ballpark. Well, what is the cost of the test that I did, for example?
The actual test kit is £260.
Yeah.
My consultations are 145.
Yeah.
So you might have to have 1 or 2 of those with me for a follow-up, for example.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like £400 or £500 to, do the whole thing.
Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell. £500 to get a test that you can't get through the NHS, that your GP won't do. That certainly in my case, and by the sounds of it, in lots of people's case, will find something that will give a real, reason or justification for certain behaviours and certain things that are going on within your body and your weight, particularly. That, from my point of view, I was then able to address those.
Exactly.
And change the way that I eat and the way that I...
ultimately taking the burden off the NHS in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously science is ever changing, and these sort of things I'm sure will ultimately come into the NHS. But right here, right now, it was probably a year ago that I did my test. It wasn't available at that point. Yeah,
so, but it's helping people to do things like prevent type 2 diabetes from occurring in the first place, or cardiovascular disease, which ultimately is going to be costing a lot of money in medication and appointments. So people who are thinking this way and come and have blood tests with me, we're picking up things years or decades before, but we can start to see the changes happening, and we can reverse that, put things into remission and prevent them from having a metabolic disease.
But that leads on really, really nicely to an area of work that I know you're very active in now, which is avoiding diabetes.
Yes.
And that's putting it in layman's terms. I'm sure there's more sort of technical terms for that. But it's something that's more and more prevalent. People have been, because of my weight, I've been in that sort of pre-diabetic category for a long, long time. But it's something that my friends are starting to talk about. Even ones that are I've got one friend in particular, not an ounce of fat on him. He's very, very lean, but he's in the pre-diabetic category, apparently. I can't quite understand that, but certainly it's what more and more people are talking about. So what's the latest tech and the strategies around that?
Right, great. So first of all, your friend is not just about weight. Okay. Diabetes, unfortunately, can be caused by other factors, environmental factors, stress, sleep. There are other things that can come into play that can actually increase insulin and cortisol. Right. Or there may be some internal, like he may have like high visceral fat, which is something you can't necessarily see. Someone could be a skinny fat. And this all can lead to changes.
That around the arteries?
Around the arteries,
not around his gut.
Where you can see it, protruding.
Right.
So talking about gadgets and things, I am working with a really exciting company called L-Nutra and Prolon, and actually this week, so today I'm actually on day 3 of a fast. So I'm fasting mimicking. So I'm mimicking the effects of a water-only fast, but I'm doing it with the use of a very scientifically proven method of eating. And what I've got attached to me is a glucose monitor on my arm, and I'm also tracking my glucose and my ketone bodies with the use of something called a keto mojo. So this is, how far it can go. I mean, I'm a bit of a biohacker. I'm doing it to show my community. I want to keep on top of my health, being perimenopausal, women's hormones and their insulin and their cholesterol can all go out of whack at this age. So it's really important to keep on top of it and look after your health more than ever. So the glucose monitor is amazing. I say, imagine if the NHS could dish one out to everyone over the age of 40. They would be saving a lot of money in the long run. Because basically what you do is you attach it to your arm. It's just a little subcutaneous layer of skin that this little needle goes under. It doesn't really hurt. Attaches to your phone, so you sync it to your phone, and you can see your glucose in real time. So you can see when you have spikes and when you have dips. So you can see what you've eaten and what the effect is, and how you're recovering from that as well. And you can see if you go hypoglycemic or hyper. So but either of those could be an indication that obviously there's dysregulation. And so you wear it for 2 weeks. Each monitor lasts for 2 weeks. And it's a really great insight, because you could be thinking, what happens if I just take that spoonful of sugar out of my morning coffee? What's the difference? What's that bowl of porridge doing to me? I think it's healthy, but what's my blood response to that? We don't know. We're all very different. So it's a really great experiment, if you like, and a really great insight for people who are healthy, but let's face it, who doesn't need to make some changes or some optimizations?
I think the key is knowing what changes to make, because what's right for you might not be right for me, and vice versa.
Exactly, it's data. I say test, don't guess.
Eating the right things. I think the thing is, I had a little look at
So I'll come on to talk about it. So it's the fasting mimicking diet.
Fasting mimicking.
And
I think before you just sort of explain in more detail what it looks like, as someone who has done 72-hour water fasting and occasionally and regularly, I don't do it so much these days, but I used to do regularly sort of at least a sort of a 36-hour water fast. That's fasting. Okay. When I looked at the stuff that you get within the pack, because we did a retreat together, and you gave these packs to people that attended, and I think I said to you, that's not fasting. It felt like
you probably felt a bit like, well, I've done the fasting.
Yeah, I've done the real fast.
The real pain. This is nothing compared to water only.
So I think that
I can understand how you'd feel having been someone who's done 3 days water only to be presented with a box of food saying, well, you could do it that way instead.
Yeah, but then therefore, why wouldn't you do it that way? Why would you put yourself through the pain and the stress of the just water only? Well, so talk to me about that.
There are 2 reasons why I introduced it into my clinic. First off was that I wanted to tap into the visceral fat and, trigger people's metabolism with a new toolkit, something that could really dig deeper, and also for the safety aspect. So I personally, as a registered nutritionist, wouldn't tell you, David Hull, to go and not eat anything for 3 days. It's not safe for me to do that. It's up to you to do that. It's not really up for me to tell you to do that. But I know the benefits of fasting. They're far-reaching. So I contacted Prolon, who are a very well-known company who've been around for over a decade, and they're spearheaded by Professor Walter Longo, who is one of the leading biochemists and professors in the world into the benefits of fasting for longevity and metabolic health. So he is Italian, and he is actually from originally an area close to a blue zone. But he moved to America 25 plus years ago. He's based in the University of Southern California, and he has been dedicating the last 25 plus years to his research into fasting for longevity, metabolic health, cancer prevention even. So he put yeast in a petri dish, and he saw that the ones that he fed the least lived the longest. So that's how he started his research, and there's been a Nobel Prize that someone has won for similar research. So then what he's done is he's gone away and he's formulated what's called the fasting mimicking diet. So he's worked out which foods can you eat that don't trigger, and we can get really geeky here, don't trigger certain pathways that activate the non-fasting process. So when you're eating food, you're triggering things such as IGF-1, which is a growth-like hormone, which is basically pro-aging, and things like protein and carbohydrates can trigger this. Also, when you're eating, you're not going to be in ketosis. You're going to be using glucose for your fuel source, mainly from your food. But when you go through this way of fasting, you get to a point where you've used up the glucose in your muscles and your liver, and you switch to burning ketones, which is your own body's fat. And then there are other processes as well, which, we can go into. Autophagy is another main one. So I don't know if you've heard of autophagy. So think about these 3 main benefits. So the nutrient sensing pathways are not switched on, so you're not activating the pro-aging. The ketosis is triggered, so you're in ketosis. And also you're triggering autophagy, which is basically, imagine every cell can get full of kind of dead waste products, cellular waste. So when you switch into autophagy after a certain number of days of fasting, your cells create something like a bin bag, and that bin bag goes around and cleans up the rubbish, reuses some of it, chucks some of it out, cleans out your cells, basically. This is part of the main magic of fasting. This is why it's so beneficial, because you want to be cleaning out the rubbish from your cells.
So to put that in my terms, layman's terms, my understanding of that is that it must be far superior to actual water fasting, because water fasting is you're just not putting stuff in. Whereas with this fasting mimic, you're putting in things that are
flying
accelerating.
under the radar. They fly under
tricking your system
tricking.
to think that it's mild.
Yeah, my body now thinks it's fasting. It's in ketosis.
Yeah.
It's in autophagy, but I'm still able to eat a very small amount of food. So,
Yeah.
so the bars, for example, that you'd get in the box, they're ketone bars. So you can have one of these bars for breakfast, and it's not going to do anything. Your body's not. It's still in ketosis. The soups, the olives, the crackers, the herbal teas, nothing in the box of food triggers anything that kicks you out of a fast. So it's very clever.
Yeah. No, but I get that completely. And it's like, okay, so you don't need to fast. You just need to eat the right things for 5 days?
It's 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah. So
and how often should you do that?
So we had the second most downloaded paper in Cell in 2024 that showed that 3 rounds over 3 months can reduce your biological age by 2.5 years. Okay. So do 1 month, and then another, and then another. That's what I've done. Yeah. Then to maintain it, you'd be doing 1 every quarter. So now this is my quarterly one that I'm actually on at the moment. And I'm actually fasting with a group of people. So I have, as you know, a group of my clients who I'm fasting with.
Which I was thinking of joining, but I was on holiday.
But it's been really great this week to have that. I think that's why
community.
We're all motivating each other.
Right.
Yeah, it's been great to do it as a group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So quarterly.
So 3 over the first 3 months, and then quarterly thereafter. And that is, I mean, obviously this is no sort of guarantee, but you're looking at basically increasing your metabolic age, or no, decreasing your metabolic age.
Decreasing your biological age, but there are many markers for biological age, and some of those are metabolic. So you're looking at reducing your blood glucose, which is a really key marker, potentially your LDL, your blood pressure, but mainly your inflammation. Yeah. Inflammation, as you know, that word is used a lot. Inflammaging is another word. So anything we can do to reduce inflammation ultimately reduces our biological age. It supports our immune system. Yeah. You see people that fast and they suddenly look better, their skin health, you know, their brain health, you know, things start to repair themselves. Yeah. And this is part of the magic as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fascinating, and it's just that whole thing of sort of like using the science which is available to us. Interestingly, from, you know, you talked about, you know, the blue zones, you know, the blue zones, you know, has been quite popular. Most people are aware of what they are, but that isn't about avoiding food. That's about eating the right sort of food, and this is a similar type of thing.
Yeah, so it's nutrition based. Yeah. It's a nutri-technological company. Yeah. So we're not wanting to take the nutrition away. Yeah. We're wanting to use it to support the body, and actually, if we just go off as a side note, think about a lot of people who are taking the weight loss drugs, the GLP-1 weight loss drugs. Now, there are 2 issues with that I can summarise for you. One would be that there's no guidance at the moment when you're taking the drug, what to eat while you're on it or afterwards. So in theory, and the research does show, you can still eat the same food that got you into that problem and lose weight, and then when you come off it, you're probably going to carry on eating that food and put the weight back on. Yeah. So that's not the solution. Yeah. And also the weight loss drugs, actually you're losing not only fat but muscle. Okay. Up to 40% of what you lose could be muscle, and that's really metabolically dangerous, particularly the older we get. We do not want to be losing our muscle. It's really hard to get that back once you lose it. Yeah. So again, the fasting mimicking diet, from day 2, there's something called the L drink, which is a glycerol-based drink, and that helps to trick the body into using that for its little bit of fuel rather than turning to your muscle mass. Okay. So we've got scans that show before and afters of people doing the fasting mimicking, and it shows reductions in visceral fat, but maintenance of muscle mass. And that's the key. And you're also, just to say, your body's really clever. So when you go into a fasted state, your body won't go to use bits of your brain or your nervous system or your organs. It knows you need those. Yeah. It will go to your visceral fat. It will go to the places where it knows it can use up the waste. Right. And it starts to get rid of the visceral fat and the fat in your liver, which you don't want that there either. Yeah. So that's partly why it's also so good for you.
So what I've just written down there is that this is all incredibly scientific. A lot of the terminology that you're using is, you know, will be above most people's heads. It's above my head for sure. But it sounds to me like this, and I know your sort of backstory and what have you in terms of why you're so passionate about this, and that's for another day. And I know there's lots of content around that you know, people want to look at you further, but that you're turning this deep-rooted science and scientific ways of improving your health, and I'm using that terminology deliberately as opposed to just losing weight, but now you've sort of formulated on your own back and with these other organisations that you're working with a real structure that actually helps to simplify it, because not everyone wants to know the science behind things. But if you're saying to people, right, okay, but I get and understand when you say, okay, I'm going to do this 5-day fasting every month for 3 months and then once a quarter, and I'm going to get a pack which has got all the food in it. I don't need to think about it or have a shopping list and try and work out a meal plan and those sort of things. So that sounds fantastic. And then over and above that, do you help people with what to eat when they're not fasting, for example? Because you make a really interesting point around the weight loss drugs, which are very prevalent. People don't know what to eat.
Yeah, so to give you an example, so the first client of mine who I recommended it to, he was on a 9-stone weight loss journey, which he's achieved and above that. So we have a piece of national press going out. So he's done an interview for us now, for L-Nutra and myself, that's going out into the national press, I think next week or the week after, showing his before and afters and his talking about his journey. So it was really great because he had successfully lost 7.5 stone with me using the usual nutrition tactics. So changing up his diet, removing the ultra processed food. So talking about what to eat outside of this, you know, if you're eating a whole foods Mediterranean style diet, by default you're not going to be eating ultra processed packaged foods that contain a lot of the things that cause the issue. So it was a really good starting point for him, for example. Shed 7.5 stone, absolutely incredible, plateaued, and then that's where I said, right, okay, so I've got this toolkit now. And he signed up and he did 3 rounds and he lost a further 1.5 stone. And now he's nearly lost 10 stone because he keeps going. It's changed, he revolutionised his whole lifestyle. You know, he's cycling every morning before work. But that's where you do need a health coach. You need someone like me, you know, a registered nutritionist, to really teach people, you know, where they were making those mistakes maybe with their diet, not knowingly increasing their chances of their, not only their weight, but their metabolic health, and how food can just be a source of enjoyment and pleasure and, you know, just bring that joy back into it. You know, I got him eating, like I said, the real Mediterranean diet. And that was through sending him meal plans outside of the fasts and before us working together, that he would put together. He'd prep up his salads for lunch, his dinners, his breakfasts. And not only did he start to really enjoy that food, he actually then didn't want the quote-unquote junk food that he had been eating, because over time his taste buds were changing. He also had leptin resistance, which he talks about in his article, because for him as well that was a real game-changing moment of wow, like it hit him, like it hit you. And he's made all of those nutrition-based changes.
I mean, 10 stone, even 7 stone is a lot.
It's a lot.
You know. You know, so I mean that's very, very impressive. I mean, what I've just written down, as someone who's been on a similar journey, so I lost 5 stone, which seems a bit pathetic now when you've got this guy. But no, it wasn't. It was a lot. You next time anyone goes to the gym, try and pick up a 16 kg kettlebell, and so I lost 2 of those.
Wow.
So 16 is a lot.
That is a lot.
So you try and pick 2 of those up.
Well, 9 stone that he lost is like me, and he decided when he was snowboarding that enough was enough, because he was basically lifting a whole me around the slopes. That must have been quite hard.
Well, also hard on your knees and things like that later in life. I've got loads of friends that you know have got real knee problems now from things that they did younger in life, and it was massive. You know, I mean, say you try and pick up 2 16 kg kettlebells, it's a bloody lot of weight, and he's more than that. But the frustration. So the only reason I'm saying that is because I've been on a sort of similar journey. My weight, as you know, sort of yo-yoed over the years. But trying loads and loads of different strategies and doing different things, but how frustrating it is when they actually, sometimes you don't lose weight when you're doing these things, and yet you've really tortured yourself. And doing and trying different things which are not working because you're doing the wrong things, because they're not based on science, they're based on the latest fad or thing that you've seen on the TV or whatever, which ultimately is an absolute waste of time.
Yeah.
Makes you very despondent and just think, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna go back to eating all the nice things I used to like to eat. So I think the missing part of the jigsaw for most people is not avoidance but replacement.
Exactly.
And replacing with the healthy,
we can
nice
include
food
rather than take away.
Yeah, and that's exactly though what the fasting mimic diet does. And this isn't because you've told me to say this. This is what my brain is computing this as I'm talking. But you have that whole thing of avoidance. So just water only for 72 hours, as opposed to avoiding nothing.
Yeah.
Well, you are avoiding lots of things, but you don't feel like you're starving yourself.
Yes.
Because you're eating something, which actually is going to enhance and accelerate that whole process.
Yeah, because you're having a little bit of nutrition, a little bit of food.
Yeah.
And the food is very high quality as well. So it's very high quality sourced food from Italy. So the olives, for example, are from Sicily, and they're very high quality foods. So when it's interesting because when you come out of that fast, what I've found and what a lot of people find is that psychological aspect of that mindfulness and that gratitude around eating, because you've eaten a small plate or a small bowl of very highly nutritious food. When you come out of fasting this way, you kind of reevaluate your portion sizes, your snacking, your whole gratitude towards the food we have on our plate changes. And so going back to your initial question, then yes, it does change how you then eat outside of the 5 days. Because quite likely you won't want to go back to those old habits. You've changed you've rewired some of your circuitry in your brain, and you do want to be eating more of that whole foods, plant-based, high quality, real Mediterranean style foods that are so colourful and nurturing and nourishing and good for us.
I mean, I think that's the key really, is that you can carry on in your old ways with ultra processed food, which is everywhere you look, and with lots of hidden ingredients you wouldn't even think of. I mean, I don't know, I'm sure you'll be able to sort of say, but the amount of sugar that's in food that is savoury food, for example.
Yeah, it's shocking.
That people just haven't got any idea about the amount of sugar that's involved in those sort of things. But if you replace it with still really healthy, nutritious food, which actually when you get to understand it and see how easy it is to make those swaps, is just as easy to provide. It's difficult if you're only ever eating from stopping in petrol stations. You've got a real, it's a bit of a bugbear of mine, but if you've got a Waitrose or a M&S in your petrol station, then you're going to do okay. But any others, it's
really hard.
Impossible.
There's actually no real food on offer. It's really hard.
It's just, it always amazes me. But
I've mentioned a few times, and many times, I'll mention it just one more time about the app, the Yucca app, which I think you've downloaded, which is really useful for people that are starting out on this journey and they're in that rut where they're working understandably really hard, they're travelling from pillar to post, and they find themselves in a food emergency and they end up in a garage and they're hungry or hangry even. It's really difficult. You're kind of looking, thinking, what shall I, and the marketing, everything says it's high in protein, is it?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head, really. It's not real food.
It's not real food. It's not actual food. But you can use the Yucca app, which is a free app you can just download and use it to scan the barcode of any of those items, plus beauty products, care products, and it will just help to give you an indication as to what's in that food. Not just the sugars, but the additives as well. Now, that is something we need to be cautious of avoiding where possible. The additives, the gums, the E-numbers, the fake sugars, the sweeteners. They're okay in small amounts, there's nothing we can do to avoid this 100% of the time, but we want to be limiting our intake of them.
But I think it's about awareness, isn't it? And again, when you link that to, there's so much of what I do, but linking it to a goal. saying, well, this is where I want to be, this is what I'm currently doing, and if I just sort of switch from this methodology to or this diet, put it in, call it what it is, to this diet, then that's going to help me to get towards that goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's a fascinating subject, but I think it's something that's really important, which is why I was so keen to get you on, to get more and more people to think around these ways. And yes, it might cost a little bit, it might be a little bit of an investment, but I think of it as an investment up front, but probably not too dissimilar to what people are wasting on absolute junk food.
Yes,
you know,
living is
I'm
expensive.
sure there's a cost comparison as well as far as that's concerned. So how do people get involved or get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do is just find me online.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the bottom of
link
of,
through.
Of
You
the
can book a call with me if you want to talk to me. You can book a complimentary call through my website. Or you can reach out to me through social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, for example. And I'm the UK Nutrition Lead and the network support for L-Nutra in the UK. So I'm the first port of contact for anything to do with that anyway.
Yeah.
Plus for my clinic, which is Layla Gordon Nutrition, you can book a call with me and I can maybe guide you through some of the options when it comes to what we call functional testing.
Yeah.
But it's done on a very case-by-case bespoke process. So this is why I always have a call with someone to understand them fully, because everybody is completely different, and you don't know until you actually talk to someone what it is they need. Because you can have that conversation and they might start off talking about their weight, but then we might end up realising they need to address their gut health, and that's why they're having weight problems. So then we need to do some investigation there. So it's very involved.
But I would think as well that because I've had conversations with other sort of people around this often as well, and you said it as well in the survey you did, that that everyone's saying is about weight loss.
Yeah.
But actually, if you can make the weight loss a byproduct of taking some other healthy choices, then that's obviously a very positive sort of byproduct.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the root of the problem.
Or the weight loss is what they come for, and then the byproduct are all the positives.
Okay. Yeah.
And they realise as they're losing the weight, all of these other positives are happening as well.
Yeah.
And then you start to realise the power of this and how food, when we eat, what we eat, how much we eat, really does govern our health and our longevity.
Yeah. No, excellent. We could talk for hours, but I really appreciate the time you've given us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm sure this will go down really, really well, and hopefully people will contact you directly. We'll put a link in the bottom, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
Very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.